Hello everyone, this is Andrew Rivera from Baltimore, Maryland with Lesson 4 for Coursera.org's Introduction to Music Production. Today we're going to learn about the concepts behind dynamics processing. What dynamics processors allow you to do is increase or decrease the dynamic range between essentially the signal's softest and loudest parts. Now, changing the dynamics of a piece of music or of a track often allows you to affect the way that it's perceived by the listener. It can make it sound louder, or it can reduce the volume range so that the input signal in the overall track is more consistent. Now, in order to work with a dynamics processor, there are some common controls that you'll typically find with limiters, compressors, noise gates, or expanders. Now, these common controls are your threshold, ratio, attack, and release. Now, to help us understand what these controls do, we're going to look at this with a downward compressor plugin from Pro Tools. So what the threshold is it's the level at which the compressor is going to allow you to begin to attenuate the incoming signal. So in order to set the threshold, let me do that. Basically, the lower it is, pretty much the less signal it's going to take before it starts to actually reduce the signal that's being brought into the compressor. Now, how much of the signal is reduced, you might ask? And that's up to you, and that's determined by the ratio. Based on the ratio, it's going to allow you to pretty much determine how much of the input signal is needed to increase the compressor's output by 1 dB. So if you think about the way that the signal flows through a compressor, essentially what happens is the signal goes into the sidechain, and then once it goes into the sidechain, the output comes out of the compressor and continues down the signal flow. Right now we have the ratio. We're going to go ahead and set it to 4:1. So what that means is that for every 4 dB that is coming into the compressor, it's going to allow 1 dB to come out. Now, how quickly the device turns down this signal that has exceeded the threshold is determined by the attack. Now, the attack is calibrated in milliseconds. So essentially what this does is it's going to allow you to figure out how fast or how slowly you would like the compressor to go ahead and react once the signal hits it that has exceeded the threshold. Now, as some good guidelines when setting an attack, if the attack is instrument that has a longer sustain, you're going to want to use a slower attack so that it's not going to cut off the sustain prematurely. Fast attacks, those are definitely more for instruments that have more transient sounds, so the attack is coming at you really fast, really rapidly. You'd use that on like a hi-hat, for example. And now the release is kind of the opposite of the attack. It determines how quickly the device is going to restore the signal back to its original dynamic level after the signal has fallen beneath the threshold. Once that signal is above the threshold and then it kind of comes down, how quickly we go back to the original gain level before it hit the threshold is determined by the release. And when it comes to releases, how quickly or slowly, it really depends. You know, too fast of a signal often causes a compressor to change dynamics too quickly, and it makes this audible pumping sound, which is very noticeable. Ideally, when working with any type of dynamics processors, you want everything to be kind of organic, where it's not really noticeable by the listener. That's pretty much the main tools and settings that you would use when setting up a dynamics processor. These tools are pretty much universal, so you're going to find them not just on a compressor like what we looked at, but you're also going to find it on limiters, you're going to find it on expanders, and in noise gates. I hope I was able to kind of direct you in the best processes and how these different types of settings work. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment.